Hang on, let me look at my note sheet here.
Yeah,
Let me ask Mark what the next question might be.
And not me.
So Mark would want to know: do you guys have any pink wetsuits in your stash there?
Aloha, everybody. This is Mark Sawyer-Chu, your host for the Christian Surfers Talk Story podcast, where we talk about reaching every surfer and every surfing community with the good news of Jesus. Please join us for conversations from pro surfers to pastors and everyone in between who are aiming to make a positive impact in their lineups and leave the water a better place for the kingdom. Please check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes, and we'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to the Christian Surfers Talk Story podcast. I'm your host, Mark Sawyer-Chu, and standing in for him, actually, Casey Cruciano here with David and Amy Nehrig. They are the directors of Christian Surfers United States, newly appointed, and we want to welcome them here. Hello, David and Amy.
Hi, Casey. How you doing?
Hey there. So you guys got installed just a couple of months ago. How has this worldwide wildness of joining a crazy ministry and all these wild people been?
That's a great question. We have 30 minutes to cover all of the answers for that.
Yeah.
Amy?
No, it's been amazing. We came on officially in October of 2020. So it's been a few months here and it's been unreal. It's like David says, it's like waking up in a dream every day. So we can't believe we get to do what we get to do every day.
Awesome.
So, not a nightmare every day. That's good.
Not a nightmare. Not a nightmare. No, we love it. We absolutely love it.
So tell me a little bit, like, how did you guys, first hear about Christian Surfers? What was your first interaction? Stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it started probably, it was before we had kids, and we were doing a road trip in Australia from Sydney to Noosa. And so we were hanging out with our friends in Sydney, and they're like, oh, there's a meeting for Christian surfers. You guys want to check it out? And we're like, sure, you're letting us stay here for free. We better go check out your Bible study. And so we went there and it was unreal. We had such a great time, connected with so many people. And then they actually even gave us places to stay all the way up the coast. So we get to the next spot and they'd say, oh, well, we have friends at this Christian server, with these people, and they'll let you stay there. And so the whole way up. So we got home and we were like, who is this organization? This is awesome. We just met like the greatest people. So right when we came back to the United States, we were like, okay, what's going on in Huntington Beach? Let's get connected. David was a pastor at our local church for the last 22 years. So instantly we connected with the Huntington Beach chapter. He became the covering pastor and we started running trips for the Christian Surfers Huntington Beach chapters, different surf and serves to Panama and trips to Mexico. So, and then there's more in the journey too.
Yeah, and then Lyle, who was on the board, he invited me in to be one of the, what was it called?
The chaplain.
Mm-hmm. The chaplain at one of the contests here in Huntington, one of the pro events. And so I took a week and got to do the chaplaincy, and that was like maybe 8 years ago or so. Mm-hmm. And it was special. It was interesting because I was just like, what am I doing down here? But it was pretty cool just to meet a lot of the surfers, and a lot of them were from Huntington, so I knew them already. So that was like kind of a second or third exposure to Christian surfers. Mm-hmm. And then this last year, we packed up in our RV and we drove from California all the way to Panama. And I'm like, man, it'd be cool to like have some connections along the way. So we emailed every country their national director. And so we got to meet with Edgar and Mike and David Torres and all the Central America guys. And they showed us where to surf, where to park the RV. We would get to go to lunch or dinner with them or hang out with their family.
Yeah, our kids would actually get other kids to play with. So that was unreal.
Yeah. So then when we got back from that trip, we were like, okay, Lord, like we're open to whatever you have for us. And we spent a season just kind of praying and seeking the Lord. And we actually had rented our house out for 12 months. And so the 12 months wasn't up, but we had to come home early because of COVID. So we were actually living with my parents. So here I was, a 42-year-old guy living at my parents' house with my wife and 4 kids. And our business had closed down and we had stopped working at the church. So I was like, what am I going to do now? And I started detailing cars and spent that time like cleaning cars and really just spending it praying and going, God, what do you have for me? What do you have for me? And then after about a month, maybe it was 6 weeks, I got a call from Lyle again. And Lyle's like, hey, I don't know if you know, but Christian Surfers is looking for a national director. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, why don't you send the job description over? And literally that night, Amy and I read it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have dreamed up a better job. And so we put our resume together, because I hadn't put a resume together in 20 years. and went through the process and met the board and the staff, and the Lord really just like opened up that door and really made it clear to us like he wanted us to be a part of this ministry. And so we feel so blessed to be a part of such an amazing team here in the US, and then be a part of international as well, and getting to meet so many people. And so it's been an amazing adventure.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And that's thinking as you tell that story, the dirty little secret is that if you really just want to take a surf trip around the world for free, if you're part of Christian Surfers, that's a pretty easy thing to do. And so I think a lot of people have gotten connected in that way, and then use that to their advantage in quite good ways. But that's really rad. And so with this trip you guys took last year, so what was the timeline on that of when COVID started and what countries you were in, and how crazy was that to be overseas? It's not really technically over a sea, but you're living internationally there in the midst of all of it.
Yeah, well, it was crazy because we weren't planning on starting it until just a couple months ago, but God just put on our heart in 2019 that we need to go now, and that our boys, we have 4 boys that are 15, 13, 11, and 8. And at that time, they were headed into 6th grade and 8th grade. And we were like, God just so put it on our heart. This is the time, get in your RV and just head south. And so we first left, we did kind of a shakedown trip to Mexico in July. So we lived in it down in Scorpion Bay through July, coming into August, came home, realized some like adjustments we needed to make. 4-boy, it was a 25-foot RV. We had a 106-pound German Shepherd, and it was tight. So we made a few tweaks and then headed out August 31st down to Panama. And it was awesome. We had the most incredible time. But then in March, we started getting all these notifications that
back up. We made the trip all the way to Panama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then we spent Christmas and New Year's in Panama. And then right after New Year's, we started heading back up. And we were going to spend a month in each country on the way home. And then in March, we were in Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so my mom called and she's like, they're out of toilet paper in the United States everywhere. And we're like, what? Everything's fine here. Nobody's mentioning it yet. No, it's mellow down here. And then she called back again, like a few hours later. No, like, I think this is serious. This is like a real pandemic and it's everywhere in the world. So we were like, all right, we'll just wait it out in Nicaragua. We got an Airbnb, unloaded the RV. We were like, we're just going to hang out here for a month because COVID will pass for sure in a month. And then the world will be all back to normal. And then we started getting calls from like the embassy, other missionaries, like friends of ours around the world that said they were evacuating Nicaragua. So we were like, what are we going to do? We couldn't drive home because all the land borders were locked. They had already locked El Salvador and Honduras. So we were kind of like, I guess we're going to hop on a plane and go home and leave our RV. So
that's what we did.
Yeah.
Left our RV with a guy we knew for 24 hours and cargoed our dog home, and we were on the last plane out of Nicaragua.
Wow.
And then the only place we could fly into was Florida. So then we had to drive cross country from Florida to California. So it was crazy because everything was shutting down, no restaurants, and it was a little nuts, but
pretty stressful 48 hours there.
Well, I guess with the extra Florida drive, you were intending to drive back anyways. So it was just more road time, just a different route.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and a different vehicle. We rented a minivan, and then we got there and the whole parking lot was just stacked with cars. And they're like, take whatever car you want. And I'm like, for the same price? So I got a brand new
2020 Excursion,
and it had like 500 miles on it. And so we put 3,500 miles on it, and it was really brand new. Like it still smelled. And then by the end of that trip, they lost money on that deal for sure. But yeah, it was cruise control at 80 on this big highway all the way across the United States compared to what we were driving on. Our top speed on the trip was like 45. So the roads and the old RV, it didn't really handle very well. So we're very happy to drive in America roads.
Well, don't feel bad. I don't think you're the only person in Christian Surfers to have used and abused rental cars. I think they might block our accounts at Enterprise if they really knew, if they could link them up there. But now this RV that you have, I think I've seen an Instagram page with its name and Go Big or Go Home Adventures. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, the RV's the Warrior because she is a warrior. 1991. She is bitter. Yeah, she's amazing. But yeah, Go Big or Go Home Adventures. That was what the trip was called.
So it's a Class C. So it has a little sleeper over the cab. And then we actually modified the back bed because I was like, if I'm going to spend a year sleeping in this back bed, I need to be able to stretch my legs out. And I'm about 6'3". So I was like, Amy, we need to put a bigger mattress. So we basically took out half of
we ripped everything out of the back.
We ripped everything out of the back and then rebuilt like a frame for an extra large mattress.
California King.
And put a new mattress in the back. So that was pretty set up. And then the boys had like a little bunk bed system. And so we had to modify that every day, just like take it down so we could sit down at the table and then at nighttime put it back together. So the best story though, I'll tell you this story. We were on an island in Panama. We put the RV on a ferry, and ferried over to an island on the Caribbean side, Bocas del Toro. And we went over there and it was very difficult to get water. So we were like, okay, boys, like we're going to use water for drinking, cooking, and that's it. Like we're using salt water for everything else. And so at the end of the day, we surfed our brains out. We're all sandy, sunburned, and everybody's like, I just want to shower. So we put 3 buckets outside the RV. And the 2 were full with salt water, and we would literally use a cup, salt water, soap up, then salt water to rinse off the soap. And then they would stand in the last bucket, and Amy would pass out one little cup, literally the size of like a small cup, and they'd get a warm cup of water, fresh water, to trickle down and then let all the salt water come off. And you felt like $1 million at the end of the day, and you were so tired and just crashed out, but you had all the salt water off. And so we did that for a month. We stayed on Bocas del Toro for a month. And that was a highlight of the trip. Yeah,
but it backfired because now our boys take like 45-minute showers now that we're back home.
Just enjoy it.
The things they have, but instead now they're just abusing it.
Yeah. We can do that as humans, can't we? Just like turn it around.
Right.
Now, speaking of Bocas, I've never been there, but the waves are of course incredible and all of photos and that one gargantuan right-hander that they've got, the real thicky. What was the best waves you guys scored on that trip?
Ooh. Well, it was the best waves they'd seen in 10 years.
Yeah, the locals were saying we had like one of the
there in Bocas.
Yeah, we were there.
Okay.
And there's some footage on Surfline that said like one of the biggest swells in 10 years. And that huge wave, what is the name of it? I can't remember, Razors or something, but it was huge. So we would find little nooks and crannies like around the island, and then you could take for $2. You can take a boat from Bocas and boat over to another island, like it's like 10-minute boat ride, and then they would literally drop you off, and then you could surf for 2 hours and say, hey, come back in 2 hours and pick me up. But we can't tell you the names of the spots because it's kind of secret.
But the best part about Bocas is there's spots for every level, right? So we would drop off, one would get boated off, and then the others would get boated around the island and go. So it was just such a little perfect area for a family to get all the different. Caraneros was the best one. That was not secret.
We put the RV right in front of
Playa Bluff.
Playa Bluff, which is like, it's super heavy shore break, but like barrels. So we were kind of like wanting it to be a little bit smaller because we go out there and body surf and boogie board. But then it got like 10-foot, 12-foot faces right in front, and we just went to sleep every night with the waves crashing. It was loud, but it was a pretty cool spot.
We actually got washed out. We had to move the RV.
Playa Bluff, though, that spot on Bocas, bring a few extra boards because it's so strong.
So sorry, Pacific Ocean, the Caribbean won out of your trip for wave highlight.
I know Porto was pretty good too.
Yeah, Mike Albud showed us some good spots in Porto, and we had a blast at Porto.
Okay.
And then I think my son's favorite spot, all 4 of my boys are regular foot, and I'm regular foot. And we spent 9 days or 8 days at Barra de la Cruz.
Oh, yeah.
And we would literally just pull the RV in during the day. And then when they shut the park down, we'd pull around and then just flip a Yui and sleep right by the gate. And we were first ones in every morning. And we had waves the whole time there. And that right-hander was
barrels.
Such a great wave.
That's when our kids they got hungry for barrels after Barra.
Yeah.
Barra, I think is, and it's close to where we can get down there pretty easily from here. Mm-hmm. So I think Barra was really good. And we were like so excited because on the way home, we were like, we're going to spend a month at Barra. We were like planning it.
Yeah.
And then that got cut short. So that's still like, yeah. I mean, there's so many good, we could spend 5 years on that road trip again because there's so many great spots and we met so many amazing people. Like we got to go back to all the spots.
Well, hearing your stories, if you've got room for a 7th in your car, I'll take the dog spot or something. Just hook me in there.
I don't know. Tripp would definitely grab Ezra and take him if he could. So you might get booted out and your son might get nominated in.
So our kids got to know each other at the camp out here. You guys made it over for the East Coast one we had in October, like as soon as you guys had the directorship. And then you had another camp out in December, right? Or was that January with on the West Coast side? Mm-hmm. And so I don't find it surprising that there's been so many camp outs with CSUS with you guys at the helm there. We're gonna do like one a month? And
Oh yeah. Well, it was funny. I think it was Shane, who's our West Coast regional. He called David and he's like, I don't know, should we do this? With COVID, do we go for it? David's like, anytime there's a question, should we do it? And like, it's a camping trip or absolutely yes. The answer will be yes. Mexico, yes.
That was like my first big decision. And I was like, wait, you're asking me? Like, this is my decision? He's like, well, you're the director. I'm like, oh, you don't have to ask me twice. Like, I'm going with you. Like, we're going on the camp out. Let's do this. And we ended up having like 80 people show up for the West Coast camp out. People are hungry for, fellowship and adventure and want to be together. So it's been nothing but like green lights, it's been awesome.
Yeah. So where do you guys see, CSUS going in this space? I mean, is there certain things that you've heard people, learning how to do ministry in a different space and things like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we definitely feel like we're in a space being on the beach that we just feel like it's just nothing but open, at least out here in California with our Florida guys. It's nothing but open on the beaches. So we're just moving forward and doing our chapters. And it's actually, I feel like there's been a ton of growth. Santa Cruz started up 2 weeks ago.
Oh, great.
There's like a few chapters are getting planted right now. And it's incredible. So we're seeing growth during COVID, which is, it's inspiring. It's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. When all the conventional wisdom a year ago was, it's like, circle the wagons and just, hang on to what you got. And you the U.S. is seeing expansions. That's really cool. And I guess San Francisco is another chapter. I don't know if that's relatively new, but I heard of it. And I think there's been, years and years and years of contacts there. And so it's awesome just to see things popping like that.
Yeah. Cool. It's really cool. Anything else you?
No, I'll expand on the next question.
Question?
You already know.
Let me look at my note sheet here.
Yeah,
let me ask Mark what the next question might be.
Questions, not me.
So Mark would want to know: do you guys have any pink wetsuits in your stash there?
All right.
Oh man.
Well,
this is sensitive subject, by the way.
I don't know if you got to read Amy's devotional that she sent last month, but so I was in a hurry and I was packing and I went to visit the Florida team and the region down there. And so I literally went to the garage when we have all the boys' wetsuits hanging and Amy's all psyched and she got a new wetsuit. And so we literally have 6, sometimes 7 wetsuits hanging on the drying rack in the garage. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to grab the wetsuit. And I flipped over the little wristband where the size is, and I saw an X. I was like, sweet. I grabbed my suit and they're our friend works for Billabong, so we had like all Billabong suits at the time. And so I literally grabbed a suit, threw it in my bag, jumped on a flight, got to Florida, did some meetings, and then we went to surf, grabbed my suit, and my buddy loaned me a board. And we're getting down at the beach. I inside out it. We're just chatting, not even paying attention. I put my wetsuit on. I'm like, dang it, dude, the holidays, like, did I really gain that much weight? And I like get it up to my waist, and I'm like, I'm just gotta get this thing on. Like, come on. So I put it like all the way on, and all of a sudden I see like flowers all over the arm. And the guys all look at me like,
to like here.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the world? I look down at the size, it's extra small, not extra large. I grabbed Amy's wetsuit.
Well, and you can't tell right now, but I'm barely 5'4", and he's, a foot taller than me. So
I rocked Amy's wetsuit for my surf in Florida.
Twice. He put it back. One thing to like keep going and be committed that first time, but to do it again.
So I do have I have a wetsuit with flowers, because Amy's like, that suit's so stretched out that I'm not going to wear that one. So now I have a
That's your suit. So I would have thought that would have been the excuse to like buy the brand new wetsuit just off the rack and go for it. Be like, sorry, I had to. Oops.
You would think.
Yeah,
But,
and Jacob works in a surf shop. I probably should have done that. I didn't think about that.
Like mental note: bring the wrong suit next time I take a trip if I want a new one, and I'll just use that. Like, sorry, my wife.
Oh man.
Well, and then last week I was up in Santa Cruz, and it's only 7 hours from here, but the water temp from Huntington to Santa Cruz, it drops quite a bit, and all those guys are in like really nice suits. And my 3.2 is a new suit, but my 4.3 is from a year and a half ago. And it's like, it seeps in the seams. And so I went out there with my 4.3, and I was like, it was cold. So I haven't broken the seam, but maybe now's the time.
Oh, did you get a new suit?
I need to get a new 4.3.
You just made a really good case for it, all right? Yeah.
Wow.
100%.
It's ministry. You have to be able to stay in the water with the people that you're ministering to.
That's
you
right.
don't want to be that guy where you're like, oh, I can't go in the water because it's too cold.
Yeah.
So, right.
And if you ever visit those New Hampshire chapters or New York or New Jersey, I mean, you're going to have all the gear. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of our boys, even in Huntington, they're in 5'4" hoodies. So.
Oh gosh.
We have pretty wimpy.
Yeah.
We're a wimpy family of cold
thin
water.
blood here. We got to be warm.
What is your water temperature over there? No.
Right now, Huntington's like 56, 57.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we just had it turn over because we had like the Santa Ana's blow last week. So it was like high 50s. So 3.2, you're fine. On the cold mornings, like 4.3 is nice.
Yeah.
But usually I rotate. Like 1 year I'll be out by a new 3.2, and then the next year by a 4.3. And so you can kind of get 2 years or 2 seasons out of a suit. But now I'm like, I think I need a new 4.3.
Yeah. All right. And are your kids, are they like stoke level since this trip a year ago, like more for going all winter long and going for it, or were they already surfing all winter long and stoked?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that might have backfired on us too, because they did tropical water for a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the cold. Two of them, I would say they don't mind the cold, and they'll get up and go, and they'll do it, regardless. And then 2 are more like maybe social, warm water, all their friends are going, and they're kind of like stoked on it then. But it was awesome. When we kicked off the HB chapter last Saturday, all of them. And let me back up a little bit more. Amy was so smart. When we actually applied, she had all 4 boys write a letter of recommendation. And we really wanted, and we really love how Christian Surfers is family on mission. And we love that. And we've always been like a family on mission. Like everywhere we've gone in the 22 years of youth ministry, we were like, this is our family's, mission. And so the boys were like, wrote my letter of recommendation, and then they're like so bought into the HB chapter. They're inviting all their friends, and
they're the junior leaders. And
yeah, so it's been awesome. So they get stoked on those days, but like going during the week, sometimes like, Dad, I got homework, and I'm like, dude, when I was a kid, I would just race through my homework so I can go surf. And they're like, no, I got to do a good job in school and do. So I don't know what happened to this generation, but they like focus so much on school. It's good.
Maybe they'll get climb the corporate ladder a lot faster than we did or something.
Yeah.
Let's see. But now with being an HB, that's a place that has so much, history, but all these massive events, and it's such a crossroads and international stuff, and Trestle's right down the road. Have you guys, I realize you're relatively new, starting with the Christian Surfers chapter there, restarting it after this COVID stuff, but what's your game plan for, is there an avenue into the bigger events, or just all the visiting pro surfers, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think for this first year, I don't know, I feel like God's putting it on my heart to really the word serve, and ways we can serve the community, ways we can serve the surf community, ways we can serve the rest of the world. I think we're in such a unique place here in Huntington, and even sitting in the United States, right? We're so blessed here with so many resources and so many connections, and so much of the surf industry is literally in our backyard. And so I feel like just building those relationships and learning how we can serve, whether it's a beach cleanup or, we're serving at local events. And so I love how Christian Surfers has the reputation and the long history of just being, having a servant's heart. And so I would love to continue that and see that continue to grow and even further that, is that Christian Surfer crew, and have all the chapters. I know a lot of them are already doing that, but really serving and ways that we could serve the surf community. So that gets me really excited. And, I know a lot of the surf industry guys, but even getting to know them on a more personal level. And even when I meet with pastors, it's been so fun because I've been a pastor for 20 years. And one of the questions that I'll ask them is dude, how can Christian surfers serve your church, and how can we be a blessing to you, and how can we continue to grow that bridge from the water to the church? And so that's been really fun, engaging in those conversations and having those conversations with the local pastors as well. So yeah, I think serving kind of rises up to the top right now is what I get most excited about.
And I suppose that works in no matter what your beach town, whether it's a Huntington Beach or it's a little beach in Charleston, South Carolina, or something like that. Doesn't have that kind of same kind of industry, behind it. You can always serve. You can always find a place where there's a fit there. Yeah,
There's one last story, and then we could move on to the next question. But we got to go visit the Oahu chapter, and Larry's doing such a great job out there. And he's got a chapter on the North Shore, and then he's got a chapter on the South Shore.
Oh, yeah.
And we got to join the South Shore crew, and they did. I always forget the name.
It was working with an organization, One More Wave.
One More Wave, and they help veterans. And we got to do that before we came home, and that was incredible. But we were just literally serving the veterans that are in recovery or coming out from the hospital. And the doctor was like, no, surfing is actually a really good thing. It's good for balance, salt water, fresh air, exercise. And so, but they don't have the skill level or the stability. And so we would swim right next to them and help them catch waves, and then make sure they didn't fall off, or when they fell off that they got back on their board. And so I love how, Larry and the South Shore and North Shore chapters are serving in that capacity too. And there's other organizations that we can come alongside and serve with. So yeah, it's exciting. So many opportunities.
Yeah, one of the things I hear so often repeated, it's because it's a core value of ours is partnership, and how we want to be the easiest organization to partner with. It's kind of if you're doing something good, we want to say yes. We don't need a banner up. It's just, we're going to be there. We're going to take part in it.
Love that. Yeah.
A really good place to be. So we're getting to the end of our time here on this podcast, and Mark usually asks a few rapid fire questions, but I'll do shorter answer, a couple of short answers. One of the ones he likes to ask is, who in Christian Surfers drops in the worst on you? You've just spent time with all the staffers a bunch of times. Let's keep it just to the U.S. staff, because you spent some time with them.
Can I give an answer and then you give an answer?
Sure.
So the one I saw worst is my own son, Trip.
Yeah.
He was surfing out at the pier a few months ago, and he hooted Mick Fanning off his wave and dropped in on him.
At HB?
At HB.
Well, he's a local though, right? You just gotta tell Mick, when you're at Snapper, I'll give you all the waves, it's fine. But when you're here.
That was embarrassing. And he's like, Mick Fanning, he's an old guy. What?
Oh, wow.
So good. That's a good. So Trip and
Well
Eric,
done, Trip.
from HB. What about you? Do you have one?
I think Trip takes
Trip
it.
takes it.
That's high level. All right. You guys have been all around Central America. Where's a dream destination you haven't been to yet?
We want to take the family to. I got to go to South Africa, but the
Mhm.
family hasn't been to South Africa, so we're looking forward to the next conference in South Africa.
Mhm.
Okay. I know a guy, by the way.
You do? Could you connect us?
Yeah.
Maybe hook you up. Okay. What else? What do you want to first see happening in Christian Surfers US in the next year?
Mm.
I think like just getting really healthy as a team, and
Mhm.
all of us getting fully funded, and like as a team that we're really connected and close.
Mhm. Yeah, cohesive team is definitely high on our priority list.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then what can Mark Sawyer-Chu be praying about you and your family personally?
I think unity as an organization and unity as a family, because there's some times where I have to travel by myself, and then a lot of times we'll go together as a family. But just that we would be protected, and the evil one wants to steal, kill, and destroy, and that we have a hedge of protection around our family and our boys. A lot of times if Satan can't take me out, he's going to try to take our marriage out, and then he's going to try to take our boys out. And so just that our boys and our marriage and our family would have a hedge of protection from the evil one.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for being a part of this. We'll
Awesome. Thank
sign
you.
off now.
Thanks, Casey.
Aloha. Okay, take care.
See you later,
Bye.
buddy.